Well, thank you, councillors, and welcome to our September meeting. Welcome to the gallery. Nice to see some people looking on. And I believe we've even got the press here. There must be something going on tonight. I'll hand over to the General Manager to read the terms of the live streaming. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The meeting is being live streamed and or recorded for on-demand viewing via Council's website. Attendance at the meeting is to be taken as consent by person to the image and or voice being webcast. All speakers should refrain from making any defamatory comments or releasing personal information about another individual without their consent. Council accepts no liability for any damage that may result from defamatory comments made by persons attending meetings. All liability will rest with the individual who made the comments. The meeting must not be recorded by others without prior written consent of the Council in accordance with the Council's Code of Meeting Practice. Councillors and staff are obligated to declare conflicts of interest as required under the Local Government Act and the Council's adopted Code of Conduct. Councillors are reminded of their oath of office whereby they have declared and affirmed that they will undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interest of the people of Wentworth Shire and the Wentworth Shire Council, and they will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in them under the Local Government Act or any other act to the best of their ability and judgment.
Thank you, Ken. I'll now ask you to be upstanding for the acknowledgement, the country and the prayer. I'd like to pay my respect and acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we're meeting and pay my respect to elders past, present and emerging. We are thankful for the privilege of serving. May we always act in accordance with what is best for our community and our fellow citizens. Amen. Thank you. Okay, we have a full house, so we have no apologies. Is there any applications for the leave of absence? None. Thank you. Any disclosures of interest? Councillor Nichols.
9.4, have a non-pecuniary interest in being that I have a friendship of some 60 years with a grandfather's sister.
Okay, duly noted. Any others? Good. Do we normally vote on them or not? Okay, confirmation of the minutes of the meeting held on the 16th of August. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Move Councillor Rodder, seconded somewhere Councillor Linklater. Thank you. Any discussion?
Yes, please. Just in relation to a meeting that was had and not reported in the mayoral report by the acting mayor that was tabled on the 16th of August.
So in relation to?
Perhaps the acting mayor can mention it.
Happy to do that. That was the 1st of August. I attended a mayor's meeting and during that meeting spoke with a delegation from a training flying school academy.
Okay, thank you. I think as circulated, that'll be something we'll be holding a special meeting or two on, and to consider everything appropriately. Any other discussion? All in favour? Carried. Now, item 6.1 is outstanding matters from previous meetings. Can I have a mover for the recommendation? Councillor Rodder, Councillor Nichols, seconded. Any discussion? Councillor Nichols.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just previously could we again have, I've raised at the cost of the sewage works down at the school. It was raised as an item, it's not in here. So could we have that put into the...
That
minutes?
added
Thank
to
you.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favour? Carried. Item 7.1 is the mayoral report. It's there as it is. Obviously, this afternoon, our meeting with the Mildura Regional Development Corporation didn't happen, so that will come out of that report. I'll move it. Seconded, please. Councillor Crisp. Any other discussion? All in favour? Carried. 7.2 is a report on the Western Division of Council's annual general meeting. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Crisp, seconded Councillor Rodder. Thank you to Councillor Crisp for that report. We did discuss a few items out of that in the briefing. Any other questions? All in favour? Carried. Item 8.1 is the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee. There's a recommendation there. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Nichols, second to Councillor Beaumont. Any discussion? In favour? Carried. Okay, item 9.1 is the statutory meeting item of the election of the mayor in accordance with the state government. So I will vacate the chair, hand over the returning officer, the general manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As a returning officer, I now invite nominations for the position of Mayor for Wentworth Shire Council for the ensuring balance of this term. I have one nomination received. I have two nominations received. In order of acceptance, I have Councillor Daniel Linklater, duly nominated and seconded by Councillor Elstone and Crisp and accepted by Councillor Linklater. I have a further nomination for the position of Mayor, being Councillor Jane McAllister, nominated and seconded by Councillors Rodder and Beaumont, and Councillor McAllister accepting that nomination. As there is two nominations for the position of Mayor, I now ask that the councillors nominate their preference for voting.
Suggest that tradition has been by a show of hands, so put that forward. Show of hands.
I just have a moved by Councillor Elstone, second by Councillor Cooper. All those in favour in relation to show of hands, open voting. Sorry, Councillor Rodder, you're abstaining? Councillor McAllister? You're against show of hands. I say that the motion's been carried for the open show of hands way of voting. Okay, so we'll move on to the election. So in the first instance, in the receival order, we'll now vote for Councillor.
Sorry, before we go any further, I'm just wondering, is it appropriate that we hear from each nominee in relation to what they might be bringing to the table in relation to the role or the portfolio as mayor? I mean, in most elections you would hear from the candidates.
I've never seen it done at this forum before in local government. I'm happy enough to be corrected. Would the candidates wish to share their wisdom
like
with
to
the
make a
audience,
statement, I'm not sure, but it may aid in any that are wavering in making up their mind which way they cast their vote.
In order of receiving the nominations, Councillor Linklater, would you like to say anything at this point in time?
Certainly, very much enjoyed my time on council. It's been a privilege to be elected by the community, and it'd be my intention to seek the support of the chamber to take the opportunity to serve as the community's mayor. I've quite enjoyed my time as deputy mayor. I've received a lot of encouragement and support from the community and the chamber. We have quite an aggressive agenda going forward as a council. We've been through a purple patch of receiving grants, and we now have the responsibility of delivering on those projects. I'm very much in favour of due process. I think we have a fantastic complement of staff that have got an immense amount of pride and buy-in into the projects that we're undertaking, as well as all those public-facing roles of the various services that we perform for and on behalf of our community. So I'm seeking the ongoing support of this chamber in a leadership role, and I would be thrilled to go forward as the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Linklater. Councillor McAllister.
Thank you, and thank you to the nominees. Thank you to fellow councillors for the last, well, since 2016 when I was first elected. 4 points really, one being experience. I believe that I've brought a lot of hard work, particularly in the realm of advocating for water, justice and equality in this region, as well as better health outcomes, amongst many other things. With a strong eye to detail and background working with doctors and lawyers, I think the level of critiquing of reports can increase to an ability to work, I guess, to ensure better communication, particularly not only around the chamber and with fellow councillors, but to the entire community as well, which I think is something the community is asking for. In the time that I've been here since 2016, I've seen a bit of a creep towards opacity that concerns me, and I would like to change that. I also believe that you can't be what you can't see, and if the community, including my daughter, don't see women in positions of leadership, then that's something they can't aspire to, and it's not right, even though we do have 33% of council represented by the female gender. It's not still reflective of the whole community, so I would like to see stronger women. We have formidable women on council right now, which I'm very pleased for, but I'd like to see more women opting to become councillors, and I think the only way that they're going to consider that is to see that it is an option that you can juggle motherhood, family, elderly, responsibilities with all of the requirements of council as well. And there was something else which I've forgotten, but it's, that council become a lot more collegiate in the way that it responds both within chamber and externally as well. There used to be a lot more discussion in between council meetings. That seems to have dropped off considerably. So, and I know that there are a few people who are feeling a bit like they're out of the loop, as is a fair amount of the community as well. So I would work really hard to fix that, and I think with a background in media and marketing, I would certainly have the expertise to do that. That's the other point. The councillors that we have around chamber have quite a diversity of skills and experience, and I'm not sure that we're drawing on all of those points of skills and experience, and I'd like to see, as part of being more collegiate, a greater sort of picking of people's minds so that we can make better decisions so that everybody feels like they have some buy-in. Thank you all.
Thank you, councillors, for those words. I'll now move forward with the ballot. Like I said, in terms of receival, first I'll now ask for a show of hands and vote accordingly for Daniel Linklater to be future mayor. All those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I declare that Councillor Linklater has 6 votes, which is the majority. For the sake of process, I now ask for those votes for Councillor Jane McAllister. 1, 2, 3. I now declare that the Mayor for Wentworth Shire Council is Councillor Daniel Linklater. If you'd like to come forward and take your chair, there is other business that I will conduct. That leaves a vacancy in the Deputy Mayor position. And I'd ask councillors to endorse that there be, in the first instance, a Deputy Mayor's role, and subsequent to that, if that does go down that course of action, the voting method for that position.
I'd happily move to continue having a deputy mayor role. I think it's vital to have that sort of whip function performed, and also to assist the incoming mayor.
Thank you.
So seconded.
Move Councillor McAllister, second Councillor Elstone. Now I'd ask for one further motion in relation to the method of voting, councillors.
Again, Mr Returning Officer, I will move that by show of hands.
Second, moved Councillor Elstone, second Councillor Crisp. All those in favour? Unanimous. I'd now invite nominations for the position of Deputy Mayor. Anyone like to go or now present with nomination forms? I'll just take a short pause so the nomination form will be moved, seconded and accepted by the nominee.
Sure, that's bloody cold.
Councillors, I'd like to inform that I have 2 nominations for the position of Deputy Mayor, one being Councillor McAllister, nominated and second and duly by Councillors Rodder and Beaumont, and Councillor McAllister accepting that nomination. I further have another nomination from Councillor Susan Nichols, nominated by Councillors Crisp and Cooper, and Councillor Nichols has duly accepted that nomination. This time in alphabetical order, I'd ask that a show of hands be recorded for the voting for Councillor McAllister. 1, 2, 3, thank you. I now put forward the nomination of Councillor Susan Nichols. Have a show of hand for that position of Deputy Mayor, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 to Councillor Nichols, 3 to Councillor McAllister. I declare that Councillor Susan Nichols be the duly elected Deputy Mayor for Wentworth Shire Council. Thank you, councillors. That concludes my role as returning officer. I'll now hand over to Mayor Daniel Linklater. Thank you.
Thank you, General Manager. Before we move into the next item of business, I'd just like to thank the Chamber for your support. It's really humbling to be elected by your community to this office, and it's an honour to be supported by my peers here this evening. So thank you very much. It's my intention to serve as collaboratively as possible, and I take on board the some of the points that have been put this evening. I'd like to thank the alternative candidate this evening for your nomination, and understand that you're as passionate as any of us are here to advocate for your community. So thank you. Congratulations to Councillor Nichols. I look forward to very much to working with you as Deputy. And as I said, we've got a big agenda ahead of us. We've got a lot of deliverables. We've got a fantastic group of staff, and I look forward to getting to know them better and understand their roles. I'd just like to particularly note Councillor Elstone and just speak in tribute of his service to the community. Tim is Councillor Elstone, he's a consummate community man, and for the last 7 years has served as either deputy or as mayor. Councillor Elstone led us through the recent flood experience like I don't believe anyone else could in this room. It was a 7-day-a-week commitment, and the community thanks you for that, and I thank you, and also for your encouragement to me and your mentoring, and looking forward to continuing to work with you. So thank you, everybody. We'll return to business. Okay, item 9.2, statutory item, delegations to Mayor and Deputy Mayor, and we have a recommendation in front of us. Do I have a mover? Councillor Crisp and Councillor Rodder. Any discussion? Sorry, Councillor McAllister.
Just on page 64, item 1, this official council ensures, perhaps the word policy is required in there. Council policy.
Duly corrected.
Correction in item 3 in terms of the meeting date.
Ah, yes. th of September 2023.
Yes.
Okay, any further discussion? Put the motion. Those in favour? Carried. Item 9.3, council meeting dates and times. Mover, Councillor Rodder, Councillor Cooper, thank you. Open for discussion.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So with the pending election in September of
24.
With the pending election in 2024 September, so I made a note that there'll be a need to amend the proposed meeting schedule. So has the Office of the General Manager had an opportunity to to review the dates before we vote on that. Mr Mayor, please.
So the only real questionable one is the 18th of September 24, which would be after the general election.
Would we hold a meeting on the 21st of August, given we go into caretaker mode on the 16th of August? That would seem fairly pointless.
There's still noted items and items that need to be recorded through the chamber. I admit that the decision-making powers in terms of tenders and large money expenditure and whatever else, they wouldn't be tabled at that meeting, but the normal course of operational, or not operational, but normal course of business would still be tabled before you as a council at the 21st of August.
Would we not be better to hold that meeting the week prior so that we're still in chambers?
Happy enough for if that's the council design? 17th of July to the week before being
14th it'd be, wouldn't it?
Counting backwards is hard.
14th of August, so business papers and agendas. Happy enough to receive the council's wish or request in relation to that matter.
All right, is there a proposed date?
So I
You're
don't
proposing
see,
the 14th?
yeah, so I don't see the point in having a meeting on the 21st for information only. We can get information in lots of other ways without attending a meeting where we actually don't have any power to do anything. And given that that it's unknown how long it will actually take to complete the counting of votes, then we could be, as was the case in the previous election, a couple of weeks, well, the election was the 3rd or 4th of December, and we weren't installed in chambers until mid-January. So that would leave a number of months where there was no councillors installed to be able to make decisions in regards to council. So I would highly recommend that we bring the August meeting date back a week, so we've got delegated powers at that August meeting pending the outcome of the election post. It could even be into October before we can actually meet as a council, or people who are elected can meet as a council after induction.
All right, so you're proposing the 14th of August and leaving the September meeting alone? Okay. Any further discussion?
Just, if I can, Mr Mayor, there's a couple of options around December and January. I'll suggest the earlier one on the 13th of December and the latter one on January 24th.
Everybody happy with that? Any alternative?
I'd concur with that thought. I think to go from the 13th or 20th of December right through until February would be far too long. So I think the option of the 24th of January would be a good choice.
Thank you. Now, I just have one curveball to throw in. If it suits the chamber, could we nominate a meeting date for the Midway Centre, if that was advisable?
Just once. Do we have the facilities out there to do it? I understand we don't.
We can't do that, can we?
Facilities to be able to.
The live streaming cannot, at this point in time, be achieved at the Midway Centre.
I withdraw that suggestion. That would also apply to Pooncarie then?
I'd take your question on notice, but having given it, yes, you are correct.
Thank you. All right, so we've locked in the 13th of December, the 24th of January and the 14th of August. Is there any other discussion? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Oh, sorry, councillor.
Well, the other part of that recommendation is the meeting times. Personally, I'm happy with the current times of 5 o'clock for the pre-meeting and 7 for the ordinary meeting.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. Put it to the vote. Those in favour? That is carried. Mover and seconder? Yes.
It was Councillor Rodder and Councillor Cooper.
Okay, 9.4, the review of internal committees. We have a list in front of us, and I think we're deciding the composition of all committees.
Yep.
So we'll just jog through them.
Happy to move it so we can speak to it.
Yeah, sorry, that's a good point. Councillor McAllister moved, seconded Councillor Crisp. Open for discussion.
Can I ask a question? Oh, sorry. Thank you. Just in relation to the Heritage and History Advisory Committee, I thought that we had decided on a meeting frequency and it wasn't when required. My understanding was that it was to be instituted as soon as possible. We've got all the characters. We just need a date and an agenda.
It's definitely what the charter said. Yeah, I'll coordinate. I'll coordinate a meeting thereof if any council would see fit to nominate agenda items for discussion. We can certainly put an agenda together.
And am I correct in thinking that the composition of that committee stays as is because it's been approved external to council?
Yep.
Councillor Nichols.
We've just been through a flood. I see yourself, Councillor Elstone and myself were on the Flood Risk Management Committee. We didn't have a meeting. We need to look at the relevance of these meetings if we're not going to hold them.
I might ask Director Carlin to talk in relation to Flood Risk Management Committee.
Thank you. The inaugural committee meeting for that group is going to be set for when we actually have a signed contract from the tendered consultant that we have to do up the flood risk management plan or the draft flood risk study. We are currently going through the contracts this week to sign, and then once we have things in place, we're going to be consulting with DPE Water and the subject matter expert there, Steve Mannering, who's been helping us with our grant funding there. So once we have all our I's dotted and T's crossed with the consultant, then we will be arranging the first inaugural meeting for that committee.
Councillor.
What Director Carlin said then, Deputy Mayor, is that Flood Risk Management Committee is a strategic arm of developing a floodplain risk management plan. And what you were asking is, well, once you're engaged during an emergency operation, more an emergency operations centre capacity.
That's right.
Two different projects.
That's fine. Well, having said that, I see that Councillor Elstone, the former mayor, was part of that committee. I'd like to, in that case, ask that his name as a councillor be entered there if he's, because he knows a lot about water, goes onto that as a delegate.
Yeah, I'm happy to accept that if I take your place, and obviously you take mine.
No worries.
Simple as.
Yep, so
I'm willing to go on the committees that have already been my name against.
yep. Thank you. So just in terms of the Floodplain Risk Management Committee, we'll have the delegates being the Mayor, Councillor Nichols and Councillor Elstone. Audit Risk Improvement Committee, Councillor Beaumont, are you seeking the nomination to continue?
I'm happy to continue with that role unless someone else has a burning desire to take it on.
Thank you.
I'll move Councillor Beaumont remains.
Thank you. Seconded, Councillor Crisp. Thank you. We've dealt with Heritage and History. The Caramar Users Group, I'm happy to stay there. Councillor Rodder, are you intending to stay there? Is there anyone? Okay, and we have Councillor McAllister as an alternate.
I'd love to get back on there, but I'm happy to remain an alternate.
Correct me if I'm wrong, the Mayor can attend any user group meeting, so perhaps you'd like to be the, yourself and Councillor Rodder be the delegates and...
Happy to support in, whenever you're too busy, I'm happy to step in.
Just a point of clarification, you'll attend as mayor and you'll attend as the delegate, as council representative.
So an alternate for that committee, perhaps I can...
We've got 3, I don't know that we need an alternate. Surely one of us will be able to turn up. We'll have more council there than we will members.
Surely indeed. Okay, that's settled. George Gordon Oval User Group. We have currently Councillor Cooper and Councillor Crisp.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
2 from 2. No alternative suggestions. Thank you. The James King Park User Group. Interesting one. Councillor Rodder, would you intend to continue?
Yes, I would. So perhaps there will be further discussion on how best we can consult with that community, whether it's a users group forum or community consultation, yet to be determined.
Great. Councillor McAllister, would you like to do a similar switcheroo in terms of the Caramar Drive?
Indeed, and I think also being part of the original James King Park Steering Committee, I think there's probably a bit of the history that I might be able to help fill in as well.
Thank you. No alternative suggestions. The Showgrounds User Group. Now, Councillor Haywood has already indicated he would like to continue there. Councillor Beaumont and Councillor Nichols. Okay, thank you. The Wentworth Sporting Precinct User Group, Councillor Haywood again has indicated he would like to remain. We have Councillor Cooper and Councillor Beaumont. Happy to continue. And the Pooncarie Sporting Reserve User Group, that's a when required, and Councillor Haywood is happy to continue there.
I would like to be listed as a delegate rather than an alternate, please.
Thank you. Councillor Elstone, would you...
I've always considered Pooncarie my second home, so I would like to be part of it in some form.
Yep. So you'd like to be the delegate, so we've got... So 3 is... we'll have 3 delegates.
Can I just suggest also, and I don't want to speak for you, Councillor Elstone, but perhaps Councillor Elstone hasn't had an opportunity to nominate which of these he might like to be on. There's a couple that potentially could do with an extra councillor if he wanted to select, knowing that he has a great affinity with at least a couple of them.
Good point.
Yeah, I see we have 3, on the Wentworth Showgrounds and Wentworth Sporting Group. Happy to be added as a alternate if they're short or someone can't go.
On the showgrounds?
Hey, I'll have the Georgie G.
As the 3rd delegate?
Yep.
Only one we're really short of is the audit, risk and improvement. We only have one councillor there.
I think we're only permitted one.
Oh,
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, yes, but my understanding is that any councillor can come along as an observer.
Oh, yep. One voting. Anyone? Rightio.
However, sorry.
Yes.
Councillor Nichols just reminded me, though, we have spoken before about reinstituting the Internal Audit and Risk Management Committee that Council used to have, which comprised councillors, and I would like to suggest for consideration that we do reintroduce an Audit Risk and Improvement Committee, and I'd be happy to volunteer to be part of that.
They certainly have one, and their big sister out on the other side of the river, and they meet regularly.
Okay.
So I think it's a good idea.
When that was initially discussed, Mr Mayor, that myself and Councillor McAllister were voted to be part of that internal audit and risk committee, which never occurred.
Okay, so Councillor Crisp.
Question, Mr Mayor, how will this fit with our existing Audit and Risk Management Committee as far as roles, responsibilities, reporting and so on? I just want to understand how they mesh together.
Thank you. I might. I'm just want to clear up one thing too. So in the report, we're referring to Internal Audit and Risk Management Committee, and in the list of the table of committees, we have the Audit Risk Improvement Committee. So that we're talking about two different committees.
If I can, Mr Mayor, I think the discussion at the time revolved around council having its own independent internal audit committee of councils,
Okay.
as opposed to the external one, I guess.
Yep. Okay, and that would be comprised of how many councillors?
My recollection of the
Was it-
discussion was there was to be Councillor McAllister and myself. So the legislated Audit Risk Improvement Committee is external to council. So we really have no input into that aside from a single council representative, whereas the previous Internal Audit and Risk Committee, from my understanding, actually had a much greater councillor input into that, and I think there's definitely grounds to re-establish that internal committee. As far as I'm concerned, councillors were elected to represent the community, not an external audit risk improvement committee foisted upon us by legislation.
So could I suggest perhaps that we, if it's the wish of the chamber, that we vote to include the committee, but that we present some terms of reference at the next meeting, because I'm not sure what would be, at this point in time, I'm not sure what we're
If I can
proposing to
again,
do.
Mr Mayor, in the past we had an internal audit committee prior to the legislated one. It used to comprise the mayor, the deputy mayor and 3 councillors, I think, from memory. General manager might add some light to that, but I can remember being part of it as a deputy mayor, so yeah.
Okay. I'll come to you, Brian, after. Is there a response?
Just
No.
concur with
Yep.
the memory of Councillor Elstone and others.
Councillor Beaumont?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think we probably need to have a bit more thought, a bit more discussion around this concept. I am very interested in audit risk and improvement. I think that we probably need a bit more discussion and thought, because the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee that has been established through legislation is an oversight body consisting of 3 appointed members and 1 non-voting member, being myself representing the Shire. But it's a body that oversights and reviews policy documents, procedures, etc. in relation to the Shire's business and activities. I think that it is purely an advisory body that provides information and, I guess, confirmation to council in relation to the Shire's business. to initiate another internal audit risk and improvement committee puts another rung in the ladder, if that's probably a poor analogy, but it puts another rung in the ladder that can potentially, I guess, slow down the process of reviewing policy and recommendations of the ARIC. So I'm not totally convinced that it's necessary, but certainly willing to discuss it further. I'm just not sure that it's really going to achieve anything more than what we already have.
So my initial response to that would be, this is the statutory item where we select our committee structure. So if people are wanting this committee, we could perhaps accept. Yeah, no, I accept your point. But if we could we could approve the committee on the basis that terms of reference or some explanatory documents are brought to the next meeting, and if they're not brought, well, nothing will happen. Councillor McAllister.
Just want to make a distinction. So the ARIC is the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee, an external body,
Yes.
legislated by the state government. An internal risk audit and risk management committee, which was what we had, which we already have terms of reference, etc. for, is purely internal. And as the governing body, I think it behooves council to be abreast of risk management issues in particular, which is one item that I have pushed very strongly for over many years, that we look at risk, because we as individuals and collectively absorb that risk. And I think, therefore, I don't see that there's any conflict of the two of them. I don't see that one's going to hold up the other. And I think it gives councillors an opportunity to probably be a bit better informed in terms of items of internal audit and especially risk management.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Councillor Rotter.
So, thank you, Mr Mayor. So in reference to the ARIC committee, so there's been a number of occasions where issues have been brought to light in the chamber where information has gone to them for review before policies have come to us. Now, I made a very strong point about policies coming to councillors. It is not up to the ARIC committee to review policies and make recommendations to council. My understanding of that committee is for them to audit and oversee what council decides, not the other way around. We were elected to represent this community, not those people, and there is definitely a function for an internal audit and risk committee. Even the schedule of their meetings, being that they are held before ours and stuff goes to them before it comes to councillors, is completely inappropriate. So yes, there's a function for an internal risk committee.
Thank you. Yes, I'm sensing a strong desire to have the committee. I guess the question is, does the chamber want to nominate the participants now, or back to my original point of just having the committee noted to be further discussed? Councillor Elstone.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. I think we have discussed it some time ago, and I'm happy to move that we set up an internal audit committee comprising the Mayor, the Deputy Mayor, Councillor McAllister, Councillor Rotter and one other. And the question, can Councillor Beaumont be on both? If he wants to.
Okay, so we
No,
have
I won't do both, because in my mind, the ARIC has that oversight and advisory role and makes recommendations to council in relation to policy and procedure. It's not making decisions, it's making recommendations. Now, it's up to council to implement the recommendations, and Councillor McAllister is quite right. Council is ultimately where the responsibility, but my concern is that we're duplicating a process, or potentially duplicating a process, and that we're going to end up with multiple Audit and Risk Improvement Committee reports coming to council, I think it's just going to be confusing, to be honest.
Thank you, Councillor Beaumont. Okay, so we have a proposal to adopt the Internal Audit and Risk Management Committee with the Mayor, Deputy Mayor and 3 councillors. There's been a suggestion of 2, Councillor McAllister, Councillor Rodder, so we need a third, please.
Councillor Crisp?
Councillor Crisp, do you accept?
Yes, I do accept, Mr
Thank
Mayor.
you. Okay, that will be added to the list. Okay, there is a further committee that we need to re-establish.
Do we need to move, or I'll move it and a seconder on that?
Oh,
Or are we going to bulk them up?
Within the,
Sorry.
we'll bulk it up at the end? Yep. Yes. Yes. Okay, there is one more committee that comes to mind. The General Manager Performance Review Committee needs to be re-established. The composition of that typically is the Mayor, the Deputy Mayor, 1 councillor nominated by the councillors and 1 councillor nominated by the General Manager. So our task tonight in re-establishing this committee will be to nominate a councillor, and then I'll ask the General Manager to nominate a further councillor. So I'll call for nomination from the chamber, please, of a councillor to sit on that committee. Sorry, Councillor Nichols, could you turn your microphone on, please?
I would nominate Councillor Crisp.
Councillor Crisp.
Thank you very much. I think this is a role for someone who's experienced, and I would decline in favour of inviting Councillor Elstone to be part of that process, given that he's had 7 years of experience of working with the GM.
Thank you, Councillor Crisp. Do you accept the nomination? And then I'll ask for a seconder.
Yes, I'll be happy to do so.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Cooper, thank you. Are there any other nominations?
I would like to nominate Councillor McAllister without asking her.
Thank you, Councillor Rodder. Councillor McAllister.
Okay, thanks.
Accepted. Is there a seconder for that nomination? Councillor Haywood. Any further nominations? We have 2 candidates. Okay, I'll ask for those in favour of Councillor Elstone. 2, 3, 4.
Could I just suggest, maybe just confer with the GM, it may be that one of those people was someone he was going to request.
I haven't conferred with the GM other than to say that I'll ask the chamber to select their representative and then give the GM the opportunity to select.
Sorry, Mr Mayor, I actually think that should have been done the other way around.
Well, I did lead into the debate with that.
Perhaps the GM could have selected his first. I'm in agreement with Councillor McAllister because, so...
Yes, we could have done it the other way around, but I did just indicate it that way, and we're now at the point we've accepted nominations. Could I ask those in favour of Councillor Elstone to raise their hand? 6. Thank you. No, Brian. There's the Mayor, Deputy Mayor, 1 councillor elected from the councillors and 1 appointed by the General Manager. As has been the composition of this particular committee on the advice of Local Government New South Wales.
Did Local Government New South Wales provide any feedback on how that, the election of people to that committee should be undertaken, Mr Mayor? Because I would go as far as to suggest that it would have been most appropriate for the position as selected by the GM to be allocated first, and then there could have been an election from chambers of the council or elected member. Potentially,
I've simply gone with the order in which it's listed in terms of the composition. That's the only reason for it, which lists the mayor, the deputy mayor, one councillor to be nominated by the councillors, and one councillor to be nominated by the general manager.
Perhaps if that had been added to the agenda, Mr Mayor, there may have been an opportunity to rethink that order had there been prior notice that was going to actually occur.
Well, certainly, but we've just dealt with an internal risk and audit committee that wasn't on the agenda, and we are in the middle of a vote. Councillor Nichols.
I was going to say, point of order, Mr Mayor, we have voted. It should no longer be discussed.
Point of order taken. The votes were 6 in favour of Councillor Elstone, those in favour of Councillor McAllister. Two. Councillor Elstone has been nominated from the chamber. The final position will be nominated by the General Manager, and I'd invite the General Manager to announce who he would like to nominate, please.
On the fly, so excuse me, councillors, in terms of the dynamics and the way it is, I'd ask Councillor Beaumont if you'd like to be on the committee.
Councillor Beaumont, do you accept? Thank you. So the committee will comprise the Mayor, the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Elstone and Councillor Beaumont. Is there any other discussion before we put that to the vote? That exhausts the list of internal committees. Have we got a motion? I'm comfortable. Is everyone comfortable? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Review of item 9.5, review of external committees. So we'll follow the same process. Perhaps if we just go down that table in order. Sorry, Councillor McAllister.
I'd like to move that we review the list of external committees. Thank you.
Quite right. Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Elstone. A little bit rusty. Open for discussion, and I suggest we go down in order of the list as printed. Councillor Rodder.
As per Councillor McAllister's suggestion for the internal committees, perhaps the former mayor would like to indicate any of the committees that he may be interested in that he has not yet had the chance to be a representative for, given that he was previously in a different role.
Indeed. So what I'll ask is that as we go down the list, everybody has the opportunity to chime in if they wish to be the nominated representative. First cab off the rank, Australian Inland Botanic Gardens. Councillor Rodder and Councillor McAllister.
I'd love to be back on there.
Anybody else? Councillor Elstone?
No, sorry, I'm too used to turning.
Okay, Councillor McAllister. Barkinji Indigenous Land Use Agreement Working Group. So we have the Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and that opens a position for a councillor. Is there any... Councillor Elstone?
Councillor Nichols is... Oh, she's now the Deputy Mayor, is it? My apologies. Okay.
Are you expressing an interest, Councillor Elstone?
Well, look, I have been part of it, happy to, unless somebody else would like to, but I had been part of it, so...
Very good. Bottle Bend Reserve Land Manager. I wouldn't have dreamt it. Is there anyone? Councillor McAllister.
I got gazumped, so I'd like to get back on there, if you don't mind. I'm happy for you to continue. I don't want to steal anything from you.
No, that's quite all right. So Councillor McAllister, and I'm happy to stay as an... Sorry, Brian?
Well, I was going to throw by, if you want an alternative, I'd consider that.
No problem. Is there any other suggestions? Okay, Councillor McAllister and Councillor Beaumont as the alternative. The Bushfire Management Committee. Yep. Anyone disagree with that?
So I was just going to offer, because as part of Bottle Bend, when I was chairing that group, I attended a few bushfire management committees on behalf of that group.
Yep.
I
was going to volunteer, but that's fine. What do you want to do? Both go.
Might as well, it's not going to hurt.
If that's okay with the mayor.
It's moderately acceptable.
I'm happy to be alternate.
Yep.
Councillor
So,
Elstone.
Councillor Elstone and McAllister as alternate. Club grants, so the mayor, that's just the one. No worries. Community Safety Precinct meeting, Councillor Cooper. Thank you. The Critical Water Advisory Group, Mayor and Councillor Haywood.
Definitely interested in
And
that one.
I'd nominate Councillor Holstein to be on that. He's,
In your place or in addition to you? In addition? Thank you. Far West Joint Organisation, Mayor and Deputy Mayor. Joint Regional Planning Panel, Councillor Crisp, yes. Councillor Nichols. Anybody else interested in that one? Okay. Thank you.
The real estate agents are banned, Mr. Mayor. So we're not allowed on.
The Murray-Darling Association Region 4. Oh, sorry, Menindee Lakes, it indicates mayor. Yeah, what's the precedent? Happy to be guided here?
Shall we share? Yeah.
Okay.
I think two heads are better than one on this one.
Righto, so we're going plus Councillor McAllister, plus Councillor Elstone. Thank you. Murray-Darling Association Region 4.
I'd like to put Tim in there because as mayor, that part of it.
Yep. All right. Councillor Haywood, are you intending to continue? So we have Councillor Elstone, Councillor Haywood, and Councillor Nichols has expressed a desire to be on that committee. So yeah, Councillor Elstone's also wanting. He's going to continue. Would like to continue. So. Righto. New South Wales Locks 8 and 9, Stakeholder Advisory Group, Councillor Cooper and an alternate, Councillor McAllister. Any changes to that one? Thank you.
Sorry, I'm happy to stay as alternate.
Thank you. Public Libraries New South Wales, Councillor Nichols. Great committees. Wentworth Regional Tourism, Councillor Rodder, would you like to continue? Anybody else have a view to joining that committee? Thank you. Councillor Rodder. Wentworth Shire Health Interagency Group, Councillor McAllister and Councillor Rodder. You happy to continue? Yes. Any additional? Thank you. Wentworth Shire Liquor Accord Committee, Councillor Nichols with Councillor Beaumont as the alternate. Happy to continue. Councillor Beaumont. Anybody else interested? Thank you. Western Division Group of Councils, Mayor and Councillor Nichols. Councillor Nichols, is that something you're... Yeah, because of the travel component, I'm just wondering whether we have an alternate to that or...
I was going to happily volunteer unless you want to.
Councillor Elstone. Well, Andrew Lakes, now that Councillor McAllister, that is, you're
That's
appointed to that.
That's an appointment by the
Yes,
minister, yeah,
So
indeed.
we'll leave that one alone. All right. I had a mover and seconder at the start, so if they're happy with the result as... Okay, those in favour? That's carried, thank you. Item 9.6, determination of the number of councillors from September 2024 election.
So move, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, we have a recommendation. Seconder, Councillor Crisp. Open for discussion.
Can I just
Councillor McAllister.
clarify that what the mover has moved is the recommendation that council continues
Certainly,
with 9? Yep, happy to support that, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Those in favour? That is carried. Thank you. Item 9.7, General Manager's Report. Could I have a mover, Councillor Crisp and Councillor Cooper?
Moving A and B.
Open for discussion.
Yeah, just one point, Mr Mayor. Under events, the date of the next Wentworth Regional Tourism meeting will be the 30th of October. That group is elected to go for bi-monthly meetings for the foreseeable future.
Thanks, Councillor Beaumont. Councillor McAllister.
Just a question, if I may. On page 79, there was a meeting with a reconstruction authority. Can we just hear a little bit about what was the nature of that, what was it about, and how much money are we going to get out of that meeting?
Money to do another plan, Councillor McAllister. The pre-event management plan, basically a templated document for us to provide data to capture relevant agencies and whatever else. So it really was just a meeting with the Reconstruction Authority officer, showed me the template and data capture for a pretty standardised document. It's mandatory that we have the document, and hopefully it'll lead to your previous question of securing some money.
Reconstruction of what?
Reconstruction Authority is the coordinator of the after event of the floods. Emergency management, basically. They replaced the Resilience New South Wales Authority. Halfway through the flooding, we're dealing with the reconstruction. We were dealing with the resilience, and then they weren't resilient. They were reconstructed.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing everybody at the Golgol Twilight Markets on the 14th of October. Any further discussion? Councillor Rodder.
So I'd just like to To reiterate, could I please be added to the Pooncarie Sporting Users Group as an attendee rather than an alternate, and is it actually going to be at Pooncarie?
13th of October. All right, they'll be taken on notice and confirmed. Thank you. Yes, councillor.
Sorry, final one. Page 82, in relation to the Story Towns audio guide, I'm led to understand that somebody from outside of the region has travelled a fair distance to come and do these interviews. Can we get a cost of what that project entails? Because it just seems like we have a media officer, we have people locally, and yet we've outsourced something that could potentially be done by staff in-house, which would not cost in accommodation and other expenses.
I'll bring the costing back to you, Councillor McAllister. I can't quote it off the top of my head.
One would have thought, Mr Mayor, that we would have local expertise that would have been able to undertake that role, even if it wasn't internal.
Noted. Thank you. Okay, those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Item 9.8, Union Picnic Day. There's a recommendation there. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Elstone and Councillor Beaumont. Open for discussion. Those in favour? Thank you. That is carried. Item 9.9, Christmas leave arrangements. We have a recommendation in front of us that Council approves the Christmas and New Year holiday arrangements as printed. Is there a mover? Councillor Cooper. Councillor Rodder seconded. Thank you. Open for discussion. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Item 9.10, the Local Government New South Wales 2023 Annual Conference. We have a recommendation in front of us. Could I foreshadow that I'll be seeking an alternate to attend that conference? But in any case, is there a mover? Councillor Crisp and Councillor Rodder. So I'll just indicate that I won't be available to travel at that time. So I'd ask if there is an alternate to be nominated.
If I can, Mr Mayor, I would like to suggest there may be an opportunity there for some of those that haven't been to one of these in the past to attend.
Certainly.
I think there would be some benefit there if...
Yeah. Yep, there's certainly interesting experience. Is there... Yes, Councillor McAllister.
I was also, just to add to that, going to suggest that in light of the motion that was drafted for the Murray-Darling Association, it could be that that motion would be relevant to also submit to the Local Government New South Wales conference, so potentially someone who could speak to that would be a good idea as well. Thank you.
Certainly. We'll have an answer on that next Friday. Okay, would someone like to nominate an alternate or hold it over?
Councillor McAllister, would you like to attend?
I have been to these in the past, and I agree with Councillor Elstone that it's an excellent opportunity for people who have not been to go and get a sense of how it all works. I mean, I'm happy to go, and I could certainly speak to the motion, but I'd like to make sure that someone else has the opportunity before someone who's been, and also noting that I went to the Olga conference earlier in the year. I don't think it's fair to send me everywhere, although I'm happy to do it.
Thank you. So, Councillor Cooper.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Crisp. Sorry, Tim.
Have we got costings at this point?
We do, yes. Yes, there's a conference price, dinner's on the exi side, and obviously travel.
And I would assume the General Manager would attend?
Yes, it'll be the General Manager +1.
Well, that's done. Thank you, Councillor Crisp.
Councillor Crisp. Thank you. Those in favour? That is carried.
With the assumption that the councillor would be the voting delegate.
Oh,
Yeah.
yep. Thank you. Item 9.11, the monthly finance report. Do I have a mover? Councillor Nichols and Councillor Haywood. Open for discussion. Those in favour? That is carried. Thank you. 9.12, the monthly investment report. Do I have a mover? Councillor Cooper, Councillor Elstone. Open for discussion. Easy night for Director Rule. Those in favour? That is carried. Okay, item 9.13, the public interest disclosure policy. There's quite a summary there and the recommendation that council adopt the public interest disclosure policy. Do I have a mover? Councillor McAllister, seconded Councillor Beaumont. Open for discussion. Councillor McAllister.
I just wanted to, I'm looking forward to seeing the Act, actually, and I haven't had an opportunity to go through it, but I do note on page 124 how council will protect the confidentiality of the maker of a voluntary PID, and with that, looking at Annexure A on page 130, noting that all of those positions of disclosure officers, that is the officers to which a voluntary public interest disclosure is to be made, all have the same phone number, which is the generic front desk phone number, and the same email address. So I think if we're trying to set up a policy which seeks to engender trust in the ability of council to keep a voluntary PID anonymous or to protect the privacy of an individual, I don't think this really engenders that level of trust, and I would seek to have at least one or two or maybe three people nominated with a phone number, with personalised email addresses, so that just to reduce the perception that identities may well be shared, even though I note that the policy does deal with, and I'm sure that there will be scope for training of all staff in relation to individual responsibility in relation to confidentiality of PIDs. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
I have spoken to Councillor McAllister about that concern. So I will make one point, though, that those names listed there we actually have to list those names. They're all the positions in the Act that so anyone who's got, so the head of the agency obviously has to be nominated. Anyone with managerial or supervisory responsibilities within their position description automatically become a disclosure officer under the Act. So we have to nominate those people as disclosure officers. How we go about the details of how they're contacted, I agree with, as we discussed earlier on. I'll do a little bit of work on that.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that. I think it's really important that the first point of call helps engender that level of trust.
No, totally,
that I was
absolutely.
talking about.
Totally agree.
Otherwise, the whole procedure is worthless. Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Councillor Beaumont.
Yes, Mr Mayor, just for clarification, so who or what position would be the disclosure coordinator? That's my role. It's part of my Director responsibilities. Corporate Yep. Services. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? It's carried. Thank you. Item 9.14, storage shed at 94 Williamsville Road, and we have a recommendation to approve. Is there a mover? Councillor Haywood, Councillor Crisp. Open for discussion. No discussion, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Thank you, that is carried. Oh, yes, we do. I'll call for a division. Those in favour? That's carried also. (9.15). What a wonderful topic. Dog waste stations, and we have a recommendation that council note the report. Can I have a mover? Councillor Beaumont and Councillor Cooper. Open for discussion. Councillor Beaumont.
Okay, so thank you to Director Health and Planning for his work so far on this. I guess after reading this report, my questions are how and when will we see some action on this matter?
Thank you.
Other than the recommendation for noting.
Yeah, very good question. So that would probably need to be a body of work that we would need to undertake from a strategic point of view and a community consultation point of view. It might be something that we need to take up and prepare for moving into the next financial year. So we can, so when the budget comes up towards the budget review toward the end of this year for moving forward to the next year, we can certainly plan ahead for that. I'd say probably a project like this could be anything from 12 to 18 months in its duration between community consultation, because we have requirements under our community consultation plan. We probably have to engage with the back with the supplier again, because those quotes only last for 30 days. We probably have to get updated quotes and things like that, and we probably have to look at our companion animal management plan, which sort of outlines how we can continue to value add to the community as well. So it's a little bit of work involved in that space, really.
Yeah, thanks for that. I'd just follow on from that, or respond to that, I guess. I would assume there is more than one manufacturer or supplier of waste stations, and I would think that we may have only received one response in terms of a quote, but there are other ways of finding potential suppliers. On top of that, as you rightfully point out in your report, there are issues with, being smelly, unsightly, unpleasant to step in. The dog waste carry intestinal parasites that infect other animals and potentially humans. And dog waste contain harmful bacteria which can wash into stormwater systems and natural waterways. So I think that some may see it as a trivial matter. I think it probably needs to take a more significant profile, to be honest, and I would be looking for sort of some expediency on this. In the meantime, could I request that this matter be put on the outstanding items list, please, so it's not overlooked going forward? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rodder and then Councillor McAllister.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm just wondering whether it's been investigated, being that we have a collaborative relationship with Mildura Rural City Council, whether any of our sister councils may be in a position and we can get economies of scale by buying in units. I noticed that the cost to buy the units with freight is over just a tad under $11,500, which is significant expenditure for 5 units only. And given the cost of installing them, it probably may be worthwhile to investigate other options if we haven't already done so.
Explore synergies. Councillor McAllister and then Councillor Nichols.
Similarly, I was just going to say we've sought quotes from 4 suppliers. We only received 1. I would hope that we continue to seek quotes from those people.
Thank you. Councillor?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think this needs to be ongoing because we're saying 5. We need to ascertain probably how many units you'd need throughout our huge shire. I mean, it could be up to 25 of them, something like that. You don't know. Pooncarie will probably want 1 or 2, and I think every other town will probably want them, and some of them will want more. So I think we need to ascertain the need, placement of where they may go. And we've got a lot of riverfront, I'm thinking of Apex and those sorts of places, our riverfront areas and caravan parks perhaps.
Thank you, councillor. Director Carlin, would you like to respond?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, take all your points on board, all very valid. Just to highlight that this was a very preliminary report, just the very beginnings of moving forward. So all of the things about synergies and economies of scale and talking to sister councils and things is all part of the mix of doing further research and community consultation about the wheres and wherefores and the how manys and what sizes and what do you want and things like this. So again, it's a body of work that needs to be further fleshed out.
Those in favour of noting the report? That's carried. Thank you. Item 9.16, lifting of alcohol-free zone at the Mildura ski race. We have a recommendation in front of us. Could I have a mover? Councillor Elstone, Councillor Rodder. Open for discussion. Those in favour? Thank you. Carried. 9.17, the project works update 2023. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Cooper, Councillor McAllister. Open for discussion. Councillor Beaumont.
So I have some comment, please, around the jockey rooms. Minor works continuing on upgrading the existing secretary's office. No quotations were received by close of quotations on the 18th of August. Is there any further developments on that?
There is other quotations being sought. That information is currently being assessed and will be provided in due course.
Okay, thank you. So on page 179, Wentworth Showgrounds, Stewards Building renovations and upgrades to commence in coming weeks. Is that a different project to the jockeys' rooms, or is that one and the same?
That is the project. I think a little bit of a typo on that. That should be following the presentation or the presenting of the final quotations. So I apologise for that. That's a wording issue there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Rodder.
I note with interest that there's survey works being completed on the George Gordon Sporting Complex netball court upgrade. So there's significant repairs required to the Carramar Drive netball court. Where are we at with that, please? Director Gunn?
Yeah, works scheduled to commence at the end of this month. That has been confirmed with the contractor. They've had that project on their books for a little while now, and that has been confirmed with them and the clubs.
Fantastic, thank you. So I've just got another one in regards to the Baronga toilet block. So is that the one down by the river? Because I know council previously approved an additional toilet block to be built in Baronga at a location yet to be decided. That hasn't come back for further discussion at this stage.
No, that's right. That refers to the first one that you mentioned.
So when will the other one come back to council for further discussion, please?
I can take that on notice and with a view to bringing a report to the October meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Beaumont.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The playgrounds at Follaby Park, Junction Park, and adjacent to the entrance, the Willowbend Caravan Park, are all in a very sad state of disrepair following the flood. And I believe from previous reports that there's been some difficulty in sourcing playground equipment, but could we please have an update on where they may be and perhaps have those items also added to this this works report, please?
Thank you. Councillor McAllister.
I just wanted to know if we could get an update on the caravan park In terms of proposed finish date at this stage, I know the community is eagerly awaiting completion of that project, especially in line of all the tourists that have been travelling through the region post Monday Bash, etc., and now school holidays.
Yes, well, certainly the update on the current works that are being undertaken is about 98% of all the stormwater. I think there's about 12 or 1,300 metres of stormwater and associated pits has been completed. All the installation of the sewer works is probably about 35% completed at the moment. That is all being installed. Significant works on the installation of the fire services and the tanks and the pumps is being installed, a little way to go. A significant amount of probably 50-60% of the irrigation is in place. Works continuing next week with the commencement for under-road boring and connection for the water supply. And in about, I think the program shows the water main installation for the park in 3 weeks' time. So our crew from Poonkerry, which are doing the civil construction and the road works, are due to finish in about 5 or 6 weeks' time in Poonkerry, and they will then flow back down into with a view to potentially commencing following the installation of all the underground works at the caravan park. So at this stage, the works time frame, and I might defer to the general manager here, but I think the previous discussion with in the March period of 2024 is specifically what we're looking at, with a view to on the progression from this point forward. They depending on if there's any unforeseen circumstances, the potential is still there to potentially open up significant section should it not be able to be completed by that stage. But I might defer to the general manager to clarify that point.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. It really is the coordination and good weather, but we're on track for shortly after Christmas to have most of the contractual work done with our services after the team come out of Menindee, go down there, build a retaining wall, roads and other infrastructure. So for me, it was more about, as I mentioned in the last meeting, hopefully having managed or leaseholders or some arrangement in place and opening up for Easter. That's not to say we're finishing the work then. We'll finish the work prior to that and have some opportunity for marketing and bookings and things. So.
Thank you, General Manager. Councillor Nichols.
Have we moved on to 10? Because the questions being asked seem to be part of 10. I don't think we've got there yet.
It's still on.
We're still back
still on 9:17.
Yeah,
Councillor.
that's what I thought. Sorry, because the questions I've got those questions to ask in 10.
Are there any further questions? Councillor Beaumont.
Yeah, look, I apologise to the Director, Roads and Engineering. I might not have made myself perfectly clear. Could you give us an update on the children's playgrounds at Fotherby Park, the Caravan Park and Junction Park, as they sit at the moment? You know.
Oh, certainly. Yes, the sourcing of the equipment and quotations has been received and assessed, and I believe that process for establishing the installation of that equipment is being programmed now. So I can advise you of I don't have the actual installation dates this particular point in time, but I'm happy to take that on notice and provide you with that information.
Thank you. No further discussion.
I have another question, but I'm not sure if it fits into the projects or whether it should be held over to questions on notice. It's in regards to the future needs border review that's being that was funded to be undertaken in the Baronga Golgol area. So is that this project, or is it the next?
Well,
questions?
it's not
It's not listed as a project, but neither of a few of the other points that have been
Yeah.
raised. Who,
Question with notice. That'll be good. Thank you, councillor. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Okay. Item 10, notices of motion, questions with notice. We have a motion from councillor Beaumont. Do I have a mover? Councillor Beaumont, seconded. Councillor McAllister. Open for discussion.
Not sure, does anyone want any comment from me? I think it's pretty straightforward, but I just, as I've stated there in my background comments, we have conducted a community business sector forum approximately about 18 months ago, and I think largely it was well received in the sense that many of the business people were appreciative of the fact that they got to talk to the mayor and the GM and councillors. There was, I guess, some difficult conversation at times, but I think overall it was a positive thing to do, and I believe it's probably timely now to engage the business sector again, just to talk about or provide update on the various significant projects that are happening within the Shire at the moment, and particularly within Wentworth. And I think it would also give us the opportunity to engage in some conversation with business owners around maximising business opportunities over the Christmas New Year period, and with the view to ensuring that we have motels, hotels, cafes and milk bars and that sort of thing open, and being able to service the travelling public that pass through this town. So that's basically it in a nutshell. I think it's probably a good thing to do to engage with the community, so I throw it on the table for discussion.
Thanks, councillor. Would anyone else like to?
I just have a question, if I can, to councillor Beaumont. In terms of coordination of what's on in business trading hours over Christmas, New Year, I mean, that's not really a council, is it? Like, it's, people will open if they want to open, if they don't, they won't. I don't think that's a decision council. We can't go down the street and say, make sure your coffee shop's open tomorrow, mate.
No, you're absolutely right. We can't direct or have any influence over what hours businesses choose to be open. However, I guess some of my thoughts come from feedback that we were receiving a couple of years ago over, I can't remember exactly what year it was, but about 3 years ago, Christmas New Year period, travellers were passing through this town and finding it difficult to get a meal, get refreshments and that sort of thing. So as President of Wentworth Regional Tourism, I initiated a meeting with business houses, and it was a very positive meeting, and there were some positive outcomes from that. We talked openly about the situation, and the hotels and cafes, etc., all agreed that they could do better, and that we could actually formulate a roster system to ensure that as much as possible there were places open over those holiday periods. So it's not about us making a decision or making direction, but it's about trying to engage with businesses to ensure that we're endeavouring to create a good visitor experience within the Wentworth area.
I think that, I agree, that's definitely what we want, is a good visitor experience, but I don't think it's any of a council's business to tell people what hours they can operate over Christmas.
I'm not suggesting we tell people when to open. I'm suggesting that we engage in conversation and try and encourage some conversation around this matter. Look, it's my thought. It's something I've put on the table for discussion, of course, and councillors will make up their mind as to whether it's worthwhile or not.
Thank you.
But I don't see any harm in engaging with your local community. And in this case, I'm suggesting business community. And it's not just about telling, as you say, or suggesting that we tell businesses when to open. It's also about providing some progress reports on other projects that are actually impacting business within the Wentworth Township.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Rodder.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So just in regards to the motion from Councillor Beaumont, whilst I understand the challenges that have been created within the Wentworth community, I concur with the former mayor. If we were to hold such a meeting at this end of the Shire, why would we not hold a Shire-wide meeting? And perhaps the coordination of the what's on and business trading hours would be better directed by Wentworth Regional Tourism Incorporated rather than a council held and facilitated meeting with information provided through that forum on the progress on the caravan park and the anticipated open date of the Civic Centre.
Thank you, Councillor. I might follow that up with a question of my own. It seems to me, Councillor Beaumont, that there's two items in your motion that involve council, being an update on the caravan park and the civic centre, and there's two items that could just as easily happen without the involvement of council. It's sort of more of a progress or Chamber of Commerce style grouping of businesses. Would there be some sense in focusing on the first two elements if there was to be a public meeting?
Well, I see all dot points as being relevant to business within the township. It's to me about engaging with your local community. Now, I'm suggesting business community here, in specifically to Wentworth, and I agree with Councillor Rodder, but perhaps this sort of community engagement could happen in other parts of the Shire as well. But I'm coming from a point where I've heard the feedback and still hear the feedback from visitors passing through this area, and my intention is to try and, I guess, rally the troops in a way to ensure that we provide the best possible experience for travellers passing through Wentworth over that Christmas New Year period. Now, the progress of Willowbend Caravan Park, I think, is an integral part of any discussion because it is impacting the businesses within Wentworth Shire, within Wentworth Township. The progress of the Civic Centre, well, perhaps that's a bit of a ring in, I guess. But if you're talking to community, why not talk a bit about the Civic Centre? It is a good news project, and I think there's lots of positive messages that can be given to community by the Shire. I think we should be doing more just in that space of communicating with our community members through town hall discussion or the like.
Thank you.
But,
Councillor Crisp.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I hear what both Councillor Beaumont and Councillor Rodder have said, and I would suggest that if we do vote to have this meeting, the first two items should be led by Wentworth Council. But since you've got everybody there at the meeting, then the second two items probably need to be, as Councillor Rodder suggested, led by Wentworth Regional Tourism in the presence of the councillors and others who are there. So you can have one meeting and to be led by the organisations that are best placed to represent and provide information on those issues.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Rodder and then Councillor Beaumont.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So just in regards to the progress on the Willowbend Caravan Park and the Civic Centre, Council could issue a media release around that that doesn't need to be a formal meeting. I am a strong advocate for community consultation, as well known in the chamber. However, I don't support council facilitating such a meeting for Wentworth. If you're going to hold a meeting in regards to collective maximisation of economic opportunity, then it should be Shire-wide. But that actual process may be better driven by the Visitor Information Centre, who has a database of all of the businesses within the region. So they perhaps would be better to facilitate that type of discussion in conjunction with Wentworth Regional Tourism, rather than a council-facilitated public meeting in Wentworth.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor McAllister.
I just wanted to speak to why I seconded this motion, mainly because it appears to have worked in the past. It is in fact council works that has diminished the level of visitor to Wentworth and the facilities available to visitors. Two of the most common comments are what's happening with the caravan park, where did it go, and also what's happening with the old services club. And I'm concerned that we do run the risk of losing a whole bunch of people who may well find somewhere else to stay and potentially not come back to Wentworth if we don't have something on offer here. If something has worked, I'm all for having it work again, and I think it's an excellent opportunity for the incoming mayor to introduce himself to the Wentworth community formally and speak to the updates as they've been requested, not to dictate to businesses how they should operate, but to see how council can support local businesses who have been impacted by some of the decisions that council has made.
Thank you. Councillor Crisp.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move an amendment to the motion. And the amendment is that council does convene a public meeting in Wentworth and that items 1 and 2 in the motion be chaired by the Wentworth Shire Council, and that dot point items 2 and 3 and 4, sorry, thank you, dot points 3 and 4 be chaired by Wentworth Regional Tourism.
Thank you. Is there a seconder to that amendment? Councillor Cooper. All those in favour of the amendment?
I want to speak to that. I would like to speak to that. So,
Councillor Beaumont will speak to the amendment.
thank you, Mr Mayor. I put this motion forward as a councillor, not as a representative of Wentworth Regional Tourism. So I cannot assume that Wentworth Regional Tourism would feel or have the same thoughts as myself in relation to this motion and these dot points. So I'm not sure that it's appropriate to push those items 3 and 4 onto Wentworth Regional Tourism.
You could amend the amended motion to say a suitable body. You so wish.
Why can't the motion stand as it is? Why complicate it by trying to drag another body into it? Surely we have enough skill around this room to be able to talk to those 4 dot points. I'm happy to talk to dot points 3 and 4. But it may well be that Wentworth Regional Tourism as a whole is fully supportive of those dot points, but I haven't, as a councillor, consulted with Wentworth Regional Tourism on this.
Thank you. I will. Is there any further discussion regarding the amendment, the amended motion? Thank you, Councillor Rodder.
Perhaps in light of that, we should consider the withdrawal of the amended motion and vote on the original motion.
We can consider that, but I'll put the amendment to the vote. Those in favour of the amended motion? Those against? The amendment fails. The motion as printed is the motion. Any further amendments or discussion?
Have you got a proposed date?
I don't, councillor. Would the mover and seconder of the motion like to propose a date?
Can I just suggest that anything else other than what's worded there is unnecessary? The motion calls for council to facilitate a meeting. It's then up to council to determine when is a suitable date, I think, and all the other details around it, the agenda, etc.
Yep, certainly. Is there any further discussion? Councillor Nichols?
The only discussion I would say is that it's going to have to be fairly quick insofar as we were looking at bringing December forward and the closure of the offices. We're now in the middle of September. Doesn't leave much time to get to something done before Christmas.
Thank you. I'll put the motion, which is that council facilitate a business sector meeting to advise progress on existing projects which impact visitor and tourism potential and to discuss business opportunities and strategies for the 2023 Christmas New Year period. Those in favour? Those against? Motion is defeated. Okay, confidential business, adjournment into closed session. Sorry,
Sorry, Mr Mayor. So
I could smell the supper.
So
Are there any further questions with notice?
So you did request that my question be held over to questions on notice. So I would appreciate an update on where we're at with the review of the future sporting needs for the Baronga Golgol area, please.
Thank you.
Sorry, just in conference with Director of Finance and Policy, we had some information that was going to be supported by Department of Sport and Rec being part of this process. Simon just tells me that that's now withdrawn. So we'll go back. Basically, they were in essence scope of works and tenders and other bits and pieces. So now we'll try and facilitate that in-house and move that project forward in conjunction with considering other options for a sporting precinct.
Do you have any information as to why that support was withdrawn?
Change of government policy. So leading up to the election, the Office of Sport and Rec were quite happy to be involved in the process, and then following the election they sort of said all bets are off. And
right, that's unfortunate because that funding was approved quite a number of months ago and there has been no action thus far, and you've got a community who are still utilising facilities within Mildura because we've got insufficient capacity to cope with the number of sporting people within that community. I think we need to prioritise that review because that in itself will take quite a bit of time. So can we please have an update on that at the next meeting?
As an interim arrangement, we did meet with users of the Carramar Oval to give them some indication of our line of thought for future precinct plans and other bits and pieces.
So was that part of the Carramar Drive users group or external to that?
External to that, the cricket and footy club come in and seen us.
Right, okay, so that'll be fed back into the Carramar Drive users group?
That'll be up to them.
Okay, no doubt I'll hear about it. If I may indulge, Mr Mayor?
You may.
Thank you. So I'd just like to offer congratulations to the committee of the Wentworth Show for what was a fabulous event, and also to last weekend to the committee for the Pooncarie races, which was very well attended. and by all accounts extremely successful. So congratulations to those hardworking volunteers.
Thank you, councillor. A wonderful day and wonderful weather in Pooncarie, it's reported. Councillor Nichols.
A couple of these go back over things that I've asked previously. I brought it up and it seemed to have dropped off the radar. The buildings, the portable buildings on the car park, what are we doing with these? Seeing somebody's paying $700,000 for a one-bedroom facility, perhaps there might be an opportunity to to get some money out of these. So,
Sorry, councillor Nichols, just clarification, the buildings on the car park?
What are we doing with them? Because we're not using.
So they're the manager's residence to go back into the caravan park.
They're going to go
those
back
ones?
on. Yeah, okay, thank you. The other thing is talking about the caravan park. I also asked that we do a tour of the facility at the same time as I asked that we did one of the civic centre. We've done that. So can that be arranged, please? And also, can copies of the contracts be brought back in a confidential meeting, just so we may peruse what was decided, what's happened and what hasn't happened that way, whether we're meeting our what we should be and whether the contractors are meeting their liabilities as well. Now, the other one, I won't mention the name because I can't bring a ratepayer in. Resident down on the riverfront, has any thought been given to her, or will there be any thought given to her, re the proposed placement of the addition to the rowing club facility? The lady down there, I believe it will nullify the enjoyment of the position she's chosen to build in, a high house doubled up, and she's only built it in the last 4 or 5 years. So I want to know, because I can't see why it couldn't go the other end of the building rather than this end. So could that be looked at, please? And the other thing was, I've had people come to me asking, could we put a fence up somewhere, and they're thinking somewhere in the riverfront area, just a fence line that's held off so that people may run their dogs off leash, like a dog running area. And they've suggested somewhere near the caravan park area down there where there are some fences. So I just want to know if we've got somewhere like that we can look at. And if they want one down the other end, well, I'm sure we can look down at the in riverfront down there. There's sure to be somewhere that people. It seems to be the go these days that people take their dogs to exercise and they need to run off leash.
The dog park, and take your plastic bags.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you, councillor. Who would like to go next? Councillor Rodder.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So I had an inquiry from a resident down in Golgol asking for how the community would go about getting some trees planted along footpaths for shade in the Wilga Road, Sturt Highway area. So is that something that council can facilitate? Should they send a request to council, or is it external to council through Landcare, or what would be the best advice to give to that resident, please?
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Hayward. Very good. Councillor Elstone, Councillor Crisp, Councillor Cooper, on a run, Councillor Beaumont, Councillor McAllister.
Thank you. I just wondered whether anybody could explain how a circus can pop up off a main highway with apparently no approvals or any idea that it was happening, and operate for, I think, more than 2 weeks with at least 3 shows a day.
Definitely was an interesting location.
My concern, I guess, Mr Mayor, was the
Traffic-related.
ingress and egress. There were a few near misses, and I know there was a bit of police interest. I wonder whether there's been any feedback to council, or if anybody can explain to me how that happens.
Thank you, councillors. Director Carlin.
Thank you, Councillor McAllister. That was an interesting situation whereby the circus, being the applicants, did contact council for a development application they did lodge a development application with council for development consent with referrals off to the relevant agencies, including transport and others. However, due to the timings of their circus event and our statutory obligations to publicly notify, we were not going to be able to achieve a development consent in time for the circus. So the advice that we informally received was they could proceed at their own risk.
For the risk of the community.
So we still have a DA that's sitting there but we are not going to be able to progress with it because the event has been and gone, and we're going to have to ask them to withdraw that application.
Subsequent,
Yes,
if I may,
please.
related. Any idea, or have you been given any idea of an intention for this circus to return, or indeed for the private landholder to host any further events?
No, there haven't been any intentions clear, but there will be conversations held with the landowner and the applicant futuristically to say if you want to come back, plan ahead and accordingly, because we won't permit it to happen again, I don't think.
And if I could just elicit a response to my initial question, have we heard from police in relation to that? Because I did notice a fair bit of interest.
Not as far as I'm aware.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Item 11, confidential business. Could I please have someone move us into closed session? Councillor McAllister, would you like...
I think Councillor Crisp was going to self-nominate, wasn't he?
The distinct honour.
I'd like to move that council adjourns into closed session, the recording of the meeting be suspended, and members of the press and public be excluded from the closed session. Access to the correspondence and reports relating to the items considered during the course of the closed session be withheld unless declassified by a separate resolution, and that action is taken in accordance with Section 10A2 of the Local Government Act, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, all of those items, 5 of them are commercial in confidence, and one relates to personnel matters which involves people other than councillors, and further that the General Manager report on the outcome at the conclusion of the closed business.
Thank you, councillor.
If I may, Mr Mayor, could we have a break while we're...
I will second.
You will second the motion? And the break. All in favour of the amended motion? Thank you. Seconded by councillor Elstone. All in favour? Thank you. Back. Thank you. Thank you, councillors. I'll invite the General Manager to report on the items discussed during closed council.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. During the closed council business this evening, in item 12.1, it was resolved that council approved the writing off of an amount of $34,543.53 of rates and charges that remain outstanding upon a previously sold property at 12 Horden Street, Darton. Item 12.2, the plant replacement for a multi-tied roller. It was resolved that council accept the tender from William Adams Proprietary Limited for the supply of one CAT CW34 self-propelled multi-tired roller for a sum of $238,150, including GST, and accept the trade-in price of $35,200, including GST, for the council-owned multi-tired roller plant item 56 with a changeover price of $202,950, including GST. In relation to 12.3, a plant replacement, approval for tenders for replacement of a grader. It was resolved that council accepts the tender from William Adams for the supply of a Caterpillar 140 motor grader as specified for the sum of $704,000, including GST, and accept the trade-in price of $155,100, including GST, for the council-owned Caterpillar 140 grader. Plant item 2 with a changeover price of $548,900, including GST. A further plant replacement item at 12.4 was resolved that council accepts a tender from Allquip Water Truck for the supply of one semi-trailer tanker for the sum of $196,225.52, including GST. Item 12.5 in the closed session of business was the management and operation of Darton and Wentworth swimming pools. It was resolved that in accordance with the provisions of the Local Government General Regulation 2021, Section 178(1)(a), council accepts the tender from Belgravia Leisure for the management and operation of Darton and Wentworth swimming pools, and subsequently authorise the Mayor and General Manager to sign the contract documentation to fix the seal for the recommended contractor to carry out all services specified in PT 2324/01 for a 5-year contract period totalling $1,560,669.09, including GST, and further to that, council allocated an additional $27,030.78, including GST, in this current operational budget to cover the 1-year budget shortfall. In relation to 12.6, Willow Bend retaining wall, it was resolved that council, in accordance with the provisions of the Local Government General Regulation 2021, Section 178(3)(e), enter into negotiation with Apex Masonry and subsequently authorise the Mayor and General Manager to sign the contract documentation to fix a seal to the recommended contractor to carry out all works as required by PT 2324/02. That concluded the business covered in tonight's confidential session of council. Thank you.
Thank you, General Manager, and thank you, councillors. That concludes the meeting. Our next meeting is at 7 p.m. on the 18th of October. Thank you.
Sorry, councillors, just close the meeting, but just a point of clarification around